What's up? James from Cardbound here. Going to show you a Yu-Gi-Oh deck this week. This is my super old Exodia deck. I made this like 3 years ago. This was when I got back into Yu-Gi-Oh after, playing it as a kid and realizing, oh, they're still making it. So I really wanted to make an Exodia deck because Yugi's best cards, he's an idiot for giving them to Weevil and him throwing them off the boat. Anyway, basically I made this deck for just pure draw power and thinning out the deck. I've seen a lot of Exodia decks run and they play it so that you draw like a certain amount of cards every time your opponent draws, or I've seen stall decks where they just put up a front of defense and wait for these cards. No, this deck you will draw Exodia in one turn, or well, otherwise you lose. It's an all or nothing deck. More often than not, like probably literally 9 times out of 10 you're going to draw Exodia in your first turn. And say, even if you're in a tournament, oh, you go first, you draw Exodia, you win. They go next. They do whatever the hell they want. Then next turn you can just draw Exodia and win. Like, this is a very consistent deck for what it is, although it's very risky. If you fail halfway through this chain, I will explain the chain through the video, but if you fail at the chain, you're like dead in the water. But trust me, that will barely ever happen. So I'm gonna quickly show you the cards, and as I go through them I'll explain why they're in the deck. So of course, boom 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 boom, legs and arms, head of Exodia. You need these in order to win because of the head of Exodia. Well, Exodia the Forbidden One. I just call him the head of Exodia because, well, it's the head. His effect is when you have the right leg, so right leg, left leg, right arm, and left arm, the Forbidden One. In addition to this card in your hand, you win the game. It is one of the like 3, 4, maybe 5 methods of winning in Yu-Gi-Oh. It's definitely one of my favorites, although it's, to your opponent, definitely one of the most boring with this deck. But screw him, he's a scrub, he's going to lose. So these are very essential. I'm going to keep them here because they're nice. Right, you run, of course, only one of these because they're all limited. These are the other monsters you will have. Royal Magic Library. You run 3 of them, of course. Royal Magical Library, I'll explain why you need this one, in addition to another one from the Endymion series. So, Royal Magical Library has the effect of, each time a spell card is activated, place 1 spell counter on this card, a maximum of 3. You can remove all 3 spell counters from this card and draw 1 card. Through this, you will draw your entire deck until you draw these 5. That's usually what's going to happen. You don't break the chain until you have all 5 of these. And that's usually just going to be, these will probably end up being the last 5 cards in the deck. So those are all the monsters. You use Royal Magical Library along with the Magical Citadel of Endymion, which is a field spell card. And this one has the effect of, if I can actually get it up, focus, there we go. Each time a spell card is activated, place 1 spell counter on this card. When a card with a spell counter is destroyed, or spell counters is destroyed, place its spell counters on this card. Once per turn, if you would activate a card's effect by removing a spell counter from cards you control, you can remove spell counters from this card instead. If this card would be destroyed, you can remove one spell counter from this card instead. Okay, so get these guys out of the way. So the first thing you do is you summon Citadel, Magical Library, and then Field Spell. These two will just, you need these two. Well, more often than not, you literally need this card in your first hand. There are ways of getting it, which I'll explain in a minute, but these two, you just keep putting counters on them, use them from both of them, and you keep drawing your deck. Keep using magic cards, keep drawing your deck. The rest of this deck is magic cards, so, and of course you run 3 of them. So the next ones, to make sure you have those in hand, are 3 magical mallets. Magical mallet is add any number of cards from your hand to the deck and shuffle it, then draw the same number of cards you added to your deck. Right, so that's quite self-explanatory. You know, you mainly just use this for putting more counters in. Like, this entire deck is to put counters on this guy. So you just shuffle your hand again, that's an extra counter. And another shuffle one is reload. So add your hand to your deck and shuffle it, then draw the same number of cards that you added to your deck. So exactly the same thing. And the final shuffle is, where the hell did it go? Well, the main one is Terraforming, because you want to get Magical Citadel as fast as you can. So Terraforming is, of course, you add one field spell card from your deck to your hand. I run 2. You don't really need 3, because the third one won't be able to search for a Magical City of Endymion, because hopefully you already have one out on the field. And of course you could just, if you have a Magical City out, you do a Terraforming, add a counter, so say that's your first turn. So you summon Royal Magical Library, no counters, Magical City of Endymion, 1, and then Terraform, that's 2 and 1. Then you can use those in combination, that becomes 3 counter spells, 3 spell counters, so you can draw a card. Then you find a Magical City of Endymion, Citadel, sorry, and you just replace that one. Then that's another counter. So feel free to just keep replacing them, just as long as they don't have counters in them. Next one, quite an unusual one, quite a waste one, is Gather Your Mind. For any other deck, this is pretty much a waste. It's just add 1 Gather Your Mind from 1 Gather Your Mind card from add 1 Gather Your Mind card from your deck to your hand. Your deck is then shuffled. You can only use 1 Gather Your Mind per turn. So you just use that. That's a counter. Search for it. Then this is a throwaway card for this card. Run 3 Dark World Dealings. These are for when you start drawing loads and loads of cards and you use these to just thin out your deck of the other 2 Royal Magical Libraries, the Gather Your Mind, and any waste cards that you can't actually use. So this one is each player draws 1 card, and then each player discards 1 card. So as you can see, it's very useful. Adds a counter, you get to draw another card, and you get to throw away the other Gather Your Mind or any Royal Magical Library, whatever you want. Don't throw away any other cards. That's the kind of double-edged sword. It's very risky if you do. Next one is Spell Power Grasp. Spell Power Grasp. I run 2 of them, exactly the same as Gather Your Mind. Place 1 spell counter on a face-up card that you can place a spell counter on. Then you can add 1 spell Power Grasp from your deck to your hand, and you can only activate 1 per turn. So it's exactly the same as Gather Your Mind, but you get an extra counter. And you get this in your hand to throw away with Dark World dealings. The other draw one is 3 Upstart Goblins. These are a bit expensive, but I think also Reload and Magical Mallet are. So Upstart Goblin is just draw 1 card from your deck, your opponent gains 1000 life points. So it doesn't matter how many life points they have, because you're going to win with Exodia. So easy, draw power, awesome. The next one is you run 3 Toon Table of Contents. Toon Table of Contents has the effect of add 1 card from your deck to your hand that includes Toon in its card name or is named Mangu-Ryu-Ran. Right, who cares about Mangu-Ryu-Ran? You're looking for a Toon card. So basically you just go Toon Table of Contents. You search for another Toon Table of Contents. You search for the other Toon Table of Contents. Then that's immediately 3 counters you get to draw a card. And then with the final one, you search for a Toon World. I run 2. I believe I run 2. Maybe I ran 3. I can't remember. This is a very old deck. But yeah, Toon World is just a constant spell, and you pay 1000 life points to activate this card. Doesn't matter. Like I said, life points don't matter in this deck. And then boom, that's another counter. Boom, that's another counter. Easy. So more counters, more draw power. The next one is Broken Bamboo Sword. I run 3 of them. Although you won't end up using 3 of them. All you really need is 1. The rest will probably be throwaways for Dark World dealings. As soon as you equip this to a monster, it has 0 attack. In case you didn't notice, Royal Magical Library already has 0 attack. But again, you're not attacking. You just equip this to him. And then use that in combination with Golden Bamboo Sword, which is activate only if you control a Bamboo Sword equipped spell card and you draw 2 cards. So run 3 of them, easy. The running 3 of the Broken Bamboo Swords is just to make it more likely that you can equip it to Royal Magical Library. And those are all the cards. Those are all the cards you need. By the end, you will have a Royal Magical Library with a Broken Bamboo Sword equipped to it, or 2, because of course you can equip more than 1, and then that's another counter. And then you will also have 2 Toon Worlds out. And then of course you keep the other magic one to activate all the rest of them. Like I said, this is a solitaire deck. You will annoy anyone who you play against, because you will be here, you'll be sitting there playing, basically playing with yourself for 5 minutes. But like I said, who cares? They're a scrub, they're not running Exodias, they're not winning. This deck is just purely made to win. It doesn't matter what they're running. I've played against loads of people. Most people I've played against don't run anything to stop Exodia decks in their extras. If they do, I haven't seen them yet. I'm sure there are plenty of cards that you could list that would completely screw over this deck. But going in, unless you tell them, they'll have no idea that you're running an Exodia deck until, of course, you put out Magical Library and you start thinning out your entire deck for 10 minutes. But yeah, you will be there for 10 minutes. I recommend getting dice, 2d6s, to be able to count how many counters you have on. Also, by the end of it, by like after 5 minutes, after like the 5th time you've shuffled your deck, your opponent will just be probably checking his phone, but which is why I don't really run it that much. It pretty much always won for me. It'll of course pretty much always run for you as long as you stick to this combination and annoy everybody, troll everybody, and you'll just win by obliterating them with Exodia, who, in my opinion, is the coolest set of cards Konami has ever made. They kind of peaked with Exodia, in my opinion. Anything else after it has just kind of been rubbish. I have seen a video in which someone basically uses this same setup, but they use these 3 trap cards. The name doesn't come to mind. It's something about ruins. And if you have over 30 cards in your graveyard,
reverse
the
other Exodia.
Yeah. If you have over
I'll put
30,
it in the description.
no, not it's not an Exodia card.
No,
That's Necro Exodia.
Yeah.
Or
trap card.
Necrophilia Exodia. Yeah, the 3 trap cards do 3,000 damage each, but you only run 1 Upstart Goblin to make sure that they don't have an extra 2,000 life points, and then you've wasted your entire deck. But yeah, this is definitely the most consistent Exodia deck I've seen or ever played against. If you have any comments about it, if you think it sucks, if you think it's great, please leave a comment below. I'd be happy to get some input or any comments from you. If you like it, please click subscribe and the like button. Yeah, let us know what you think.